Hey everybody, this is Sid Hameed with Brickfront Properties and Construction. I'm sitting here with Mr. Johnny Baker from DeBach. He's from Washington, D.C. He's been born and raised here for over 20 years. He's been doing a lot of work with the FHA 203k work. So we're going to today discuss a lot of the issues that are related around the FHA 203k program from a customer's perspective, as well as a contractor's perspective, that come up that I've experienced myself, as well as Mr. Baker has experienced over the years. So we're going to talk about some of the major issues that occur during the process. So, okay, so one of the issues, Mr. Baker, is when a client hires you to come out and to do the feasibility study, right, and to kind of walk them through and educate them in terms of the property, in terms of the repairs that need to be done. So what happens from there? Explain what happens from there in terms of some of the clients that you've talked to and dealt with.
The major misconception that the client have, again, based off what they see on TV. Mm-hmm. So it makes it a little hard on our first approach to break down, first of all, why they got to pay me to educate them on doing what needs to be done in order for them to live in a happy and safe house at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So as a consultant, my role is to come in and to break down throw away the misconception of what you've seen on TV, what you heard, and bring them into reality. Okay. You know. Yep, you're absolutely right. And let them know that there's a cost associated with it. Because my role, my job is to make sure that you are happy and want to pay your loan at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So it behooves you not to want to pay and listen to what me with over 17 years of experience have to tell you during this whole process.
Just like having an angel.
An angel.
Having an angel in your corner watching over the project, watching over the timelines, watching over the scope of work, and making sure the contractor is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Exactly, according to plan and within budget.
Right. So now, one of the things that I've experienced is when we do an initial, as a contractor, when we do an initial statement of work and we get in there, do the job, homeowners change. Correct. Change their minds, and they change the orders, and they change the scope of work. So how do we deal with that? What happens there? What kind of impact does that have on the loan overall?
Well, it's two different perspectives as you look at it. First of all, you have one loan, like we said, a 203 streamline, mm-hmm, whereby consultant is not involved once you move into the construction process. Okay. So in that scenario, it's like a word of mouth between the homeowner and the contractor. Okay. Oftentimes, the homeowner have the upper hand because the bank send them the money, they control the money, they control the time, they control the desires and sometimes the misunderstanding of what's going on. Exactly. So in essence, it leaves the contractor very vulnerable. Because the homeowners have to understand that a contractor is coming on, putting his own money up, mm-hmm, and then the bank reimburse them as the project, mm-hmm, proceed, as the project move on. Right. So therefore, the contractor have a lot more investment into a property, mm-hmm, than a homeowner do at that point in time until the job is done. Right. So just to let you know, I'm gonna, as a contractor, so when we're dealing with the home owner, the person buying the home, they're going to deal with the bank, and the bank's going to get them pre-qualified. And then the bank is going to be able to tell them, okay, here's the consultant, here's an FHA HUD certified consultant. Every contractor should work with a HUD certified consultant because one, it'll save your butt. And what happens is a lot of times the homeowners will change orders on you big time. And that'll mess up the timelines, that'll mess up the budget, and it just causes a big headache. But when you have a person like this in your corner, it protects the contractor, but it also protects the homeowner, and it's like a mediator to make sure everybody's getting paid, everything's being done, the timelines are being met, the right materials are being used, and so forth. Correct. Okay, so the other thing is, okay, so when you get into a job, you start a job, and then the check comes from the bank to the homeowner. Mm-hmm. So how long does the contractor have to wait to get those funds from the homeowner when the work is done? It simply should be automatic because when a bank sends a check out to the homeowner, it's cut in the name of the homeowner as well as the contractor. Mm-hmm. So when the homeowner receives a check, their job is to sign that check off and hand it over to the contractor. Right. That should be the process. Normally that should take, depending upon the bank, it varies from up to 72 hours to a week, mm-hmm, depending upon which bank you're working with and whatnot. from the time the draw is put in to the time the homeowner receives the check from the
Okay.
bank. Now keep in mind, in most cases, whatever, if the homeowner at the closing table asks for direct deposit, once the draw request is put in, the money can be wired to their account that day.
To the homeowner?
To the homeowner's account that day.
Okay, okay.
So it, depending upon the bank and how it's set up at the closing table, the money could be there as soon as the draw requests come in, or it can take up to a week before that check is sent out and the homeowner be able to get it to the contractor.
Now, in cases, in some of the projects that I worked on, the homeowner received the check
Correct,
and then changed the scope of work.
correct.
And so how do we increase our price? How do we as contractors say, look, it's gonna cost you $2,000-3,000 more when the loan is already done? Who pays for those items?
They have to come out of the homeowner's pocket. There's no such thing. Once the scope of work has been turned into the bank, this home is this home buyer is qualified for this amount. This is the scope of the work that needs to be done. Everything has to stay in that line order.
Okay.
However, if there's a change order come in and whatnot, there's always a 10% contingency that's made into each 203k loan.
And is the bank holding that 10% of the escrow?
The bank holds that 10% in escrow. Also keep in mind that every draw, there's a 10% held back into escrow to make sure that their contractor is doing their job. And it's released after all the draws have been completed, the job is done, the bank released that 10% they held back per draw as well.
Okay.
Again, for the protection of the homeowner, to make sure
Okay.
the contractor is going to stick around and complete the job.
Now, one of the other issues that I run into is you get a homeowner who wants to get in there and do their own work.
Correct.
So we're supposed to get in and do X, Y, Z, and the homeowner says to me, hey, Sid, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll reduce your pay. Is that?
That's not legal.
That's not legal.
If a homeowner had a desire to do some of the work themselves, they can, when they apply for the loan, they can ask the lender for what they consider self-help 203k.
Self-help, okay.
It's a little bit more harder to qualify, but they got to be able to prove that they can actually do the work.
Right. Because at the end of the line, the contractor is
The
responsible.
contractor is responsible. That's why every contractor have to come in with a bank and have to get certified if they're going to do a 203k renovation job with the bank. So that means a contractor come in bonded, licensed, insured, and have capital in the bank to be able to put his own money up. Because remember, they're putting their money up and getting refunded by the bank once the job is done.
Right.
So therefore, when a homeowner come in with the desire to do work themselves, after the loan have gone to closing, that's illegal. It should not be negotiated. If they want to have something separate done, a change order put in, it's legal if they want to sign a separate contract. For the benefit of that contractor, I would enter into a separate contract that the first contract with the bank supersedes that contract, but you can come in and put in a secondary contract that it's on responsibility of the homeowner to pay you.
Pay this for the other items,
For
the add-ons.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
the add-ons, right.
And it's
So-
not up to because again, keep in mind too, it's a contract that's licensed bond that is the win this job. So if there's anything go wrong, if you allow a homeowner to come and do something and it's messed up, the bank is still gonna hold the contractor responsible for it.
Okay. Can the contractor be fired?
Yes, the contractor can be fired.
And can the contractor be fired by the homeowner or the bank? How can the contractor get fired?
Typically, it's off the knowledge of from either a time constraint, the bank might recommend that if the contractor does not do his job in a timely manner, the bank might tell the homeowner that, okay, you might need to look for another contractor. Typically, from the initial write-up, the consultant give a time frame that this job can be completed.
Okay.
Once this house goes to closing, the work must start within 30 days after closing.
Okay.
So we say if it's a 30-day window, we say the consultant write-up, it's a 90-day project total. So that means we got 120 days total to get this job done. Within the first 30 days, the bank wants to see some type of work being done on this house.
Okay. Now, can the contractor quit the job because of the difficulties that the homeowner is causing the contractor by making all these changes and modifications and messing up the timeline and the budget?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct. At that point, I would advise the contractor to contact the bank to make sure all work that's been completed, that bank is the contractor is being compensated for that.
Okay. Okay.
And that's a separate change order.
That's a separate change order.
Correct.
So this is where having a HUD certified consultant, part of the overall project, is very important because you are the mediator between the bank, the
Correct.
contractor, and the buyer.
Correct. And that makes a very interesting point because everybody in this whole process works for that homeowner. So the homeowner oftentimes use their power, use their use it to their benefit outside the realm of what they're supposed to be using 203k loan for.
Sure.
Most loans go bad, or most 203k projects goes bad because of a homeowner trying to take too much control over a job or something they don't know anything about.
Exactly.
And so that's why the consultant come in and play a major role, because my job is to keep that contractor, the homeowner, as well as the bank in check to make sure this job is done in a timely, equitable manner.
Right. And the other benefit of having you around is also if anything goes wrong and there's a legal issue comes up and we have to go to court, then you could be the witness and the testimonial and things like that.
Correct. Yeah, we are licensed to stand up in court to say, give our professional opinion on what transpired.
Right. Okay. Now, also, the other thing that I have dealt with over time is when we get a loan, when we get the job from the bank and the homeowner, we get approved and we get the actual project and we start the project, and then when we get into the job, then we find out more things about the property. Like, for example, when we take the walls down, there's termite issues.
Correct.
Okay, then all the 2x4s have to come down.
Correct.
The insulation is totally wet and damaged, all that stuff. So a lot of times when we're doing an estimate, you cannot see behind the walls.
Absolutely.
So how do we deal with that?
That's why all loans come in with a 10% or 15% contingency.
Okay.
A 10% is off the bat. Every 203k have a 10% contingency for the stuff unseen, as you already explained and whatnot, behind the wall or something that comes up or whatever, or there might be some change orders that the homeowner might want to take part in and whatnot. But a 15% contingency is we come in and do an inspection, there's no light, no power, whatnot, so we can't test the water, we can't test the electricity water, so they throw in an extra 5% to encompass something like that.
Okay. What are some of the other issues that you run into in your experience and in your?
Well, like I said, the biggest issue I've ran in my 17 years is when we did a project in the Metro DC area whereby it was a $200,000 project. The first draw request was for $70,000. When the bank sent the money out to the homeowner, you know, a lot of homeowners haven't seen that amount of money in such a short period of time. The homeowner decided to take it and buy his daughter a car. And then went back to the contractor and say, can we negotiate how to still get the job done, minus $30,000.
Right.
Of course, the whole job got closed down. The bank had to go into litigation, and the whole process just went haywire from that point.
Right.
But that was the biggest thing I had, and most often, it always comes down to when that homeowner get that first check.
Right.
Is when issues really start to accumulate.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, having Mr. Johnny Baker, a certified consultant, having a good solid contractor, having a good solid statement of work and timelines, it could make things so much easier for everybody. Okay? So please give us a call. Mr. DeBach is the name of Johnny Baker's company. What's your phone number? How can you get a hold of you, Mr.
They
Johnny?
can reach me either by email, which I prefer. The email address is allhudmaryland@gmail.com. That's ALLHUDMD@gmail.com. Or you can always call or text at 202-359-3840.
And I'm Brickfront Property, Sid Hameed. So you can give us a call and look us up on the internet. Thank you very much.